Julesy.
Hello.
How many over your time? How many padmates have you had?
Oh wow. I don't know. 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 6.
That's a lot, you know.
Different.
It's a lot.
No, probably more.
Yeah,
what about you?
I think I'm in double figures.
Don't lie, you're in triple. I'm just joking.
Oh.
Just joking.
Oh, I see. Yeah. That was below the belt.
Yeah, no, sorry. I didn't mean it.
It's cool.
I take it back.
No, you don't. You mean it.
Hello and welcome back to Life After Prison, The Sit Down.
Yes, the podcast where we're joined by a guest who shares their experience of the criminal justice system and their journey of life after prison. And today we are joined by an award-winning entrepreneur, Shanice Lee.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. So as we said, you're an award-winning entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about what you do.
So I started off being a mobile lash technician, and then I ventured out to like digital products like ebooks, physical books. I'm a lash educator as well, so I qualify other women how to do eyelash extensions that they will gain a certificate from that they can go and obtain insurance. I sell products, so I'm a lash supplier. I do a bit of motivational speaking, a little bit of everything, really.
It does sound like a little bit of everything.
Sometimes I forget.
Dan, you do a lot.
Innit? Yeah.
Well done. This is great. Where did this all start? What was the drive to be doing all of this?
I feel like I qualified in hairdressing when I was younger on an apprenticeship, but I just felt like I didn't really have a passion for like hair itself. And then I sort of steered into like the wrong path and sort of made money like that way. And I just knew like as a female, like I was more than that, and I wanted to like pursue my dreams. I've always wanted to have my own salon and like be my own boss. So I went and done like an eyelash course, and then I loved it as much as I wasn't good at it. I just thought like I've got to make this work. And then it was hard at the beginning because it was a bit up and down and I wasn't really taking it seriously. And then I feel like getting on the case that I got on, I feel like that's what made me really take it seriously.
So tell us about the circumstances actually leading you to be going inside.
So I was in a relationship and my ex-partner got arrested, and me being like the girlfriend, obviously I got involved in like, you know, the case itself. So I feel like, yeah, I wasn't really taking like my business or anything really seriously, because I feel like it was sort of hard to come away from that sort of life.
Talking about that sort of life, what was your kind of lifestyle before going into prison then?
I feel like before I got arrested, I feel like it was quite erratic, as in the sense as like I was just trying to make money. I thought how I was doing it, I was going to get to the dreams that I desired. But I just realised it's a vicious cycle. So I would have continuously have gone around that and just ended up like in jail for making money, which obviously wasn't the case. But yeah, I feel like going before prison, it was just all over the place. I didn't really know where I was coming or going. Like I wasn't really achieving anything, and I wasn't really doing anything good.
Do you think that's just because of like you were young, or was it just the kind of like influences around you?
I feel like I wouldn't say like the influences. I feel like maybe my circumstances maybe sort of led me to that sort of life, because I always believe like it's your own actions, and I'm not a person of like influence, so I feel like I can't really just do something because of other people around me. I feel like because I've lived on my own in hostels since I was like 15, I've sort of had to like guide myself and sort of steer my own direction. And I think from 15, I feel like you should still be getting told like, no, you're not going there, no, you're not doing this, and yes, okay, you can do that, you got to be home at this time. And I think because I had to start understanding about like council tax and rent and things like that from a very young age, I sort of had to grow up a lot quicker. So yeah. I feel like that's why I sort of was around all of that.
So what was growing up like then for you?
I feel like growing up, like, I would say I'm very grateful for like the family that I had. Obviously they are my actual auntie and uncle, which obviously I got brought up calling them mum and dad, and like my sister and brother. And I just feel like because they're a white family, it might not have been intentional, but I just feel like I felt out of place, and I just felt like I wasn't a part of anything. I felt like I lacked like love, and I just feel like it was just hard because I just felt like they did regret doing it because my mum passed away. So I feel like being like my mum now, my adopted mum, I feel like her being my mum's sister, she felt like she had to do it.
Okay.
Not because she wanted to adopt because she could have kids. And obviously I've got two sisters and a brother from the adoption, which are actually my cousins. So they are like family. So I just feel like it was just hard.
I mean, yeah, that's a lot to deal with when you're young, especially. And you said, you had to grow up quite quickly. You probably get to, use that to some advantages now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that must have been super hard. Do you think if you had a different upbringing, then you would have had a different journey?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like even like my mum passing away and stuff like that, as much as like everything I do now is to obviously like make her proud and things like that. But it's not like I wish she wasn't here and I'm glad she's not here because obviously I wish like I had my mum, of course. But I just feel like, my understanding of knowing that I was born on crack and heroin and she'd been in and out of rehab from a young age, like, because she died at 18. So for her to be in and out of rehabs and, really addicted to like crack and heroin, I just feel like I probably wouldn't have been the person that I am today. I probably wouldn't have had the strength that I had, or like maybe like the resilience and like even like maybe like the motivation and stuff like that. I would have grown up in a completely different area. I'm always grateful, especially like where I got brought up. Like everyone on my road like owned their houses, and like I didn't know what drugs was. Like I was very naive, like because I feel like my family, like they are a good family. Like I probably get like a lot of my morals and stuff from them. I just feel like their love towards me, like I always like argued it because I just felt like it wasn't ever there.
And do you feel like because of, like certain situations that you've been through, maybe you wouldn't have gone to prison, or it wouldn't have led you to that?
Yeah, no, 100%. Because I definitely feel like, for me, I feel like I lacked love and guidance. And I feel like from my ex-partner, I feel like for me personally, I feel like that was the first time I'd ever experienced love, and I felt accepted in their family. I felt like his mom, his dad, his auntie, uncle, cousin, like everyone just accepted me. And it was like I was a part of their family. And I think to get to like 18 and never feel like I've experienced love before, I feel like I would sort of, I don't know, I would do anything for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it makes, it makes a lot of sense when you say that. So
I think that's a common theme what we've kind of discovered, especially around, with some women going into prison. A lot of women are in there because of partners, or in relation to their partners, like offences. How did it feel for you being in that situation yourself?
I feel like, do you know what? Because I got religious before I went into prison, I feel like for me, I just sort of trusted the process, and I knew I wasn't in there for that long, and I knew that I was never going to experience like this experience again, and not everyone's going to be able to like experience that. Not that I would recommend it, but I feel like because I was in that situation, I feel like I just try and take positives from anything I go through, and just make something good out of it. So me going in there, I just felt like I wasn't angry, I wasn't upset, I wasn't hurt. Like I just felt like this is where I am, this is where God's put me, and I'm just gonna like utilize what I can and like take from it.
What was the charge? How long were you away for?
So it was perverting the course of justice, and I got 19 months. But because I was on tag for like a year and a bit, or a year and a half before that time got taken off, and then when I come out with early release, I was on tag as well.
Okay.
So that time got taken off.
So also being inside, you were a young offender, right? You're YO. How did it feel being a YO in prison?
I feel like, do you know what? I was always like probably like one of the youngest in there, or like around the people that was in there. So I feel like a lot of people would always say to me like, oh, like you need to be careful, this is your first sentence, like you'll be back here. And like I used to say like, oh no, I'm not, but then I actually stopped and said like, actually I will like come back here, but it won't be like me coming behind a door. It'll be like me coming and doing classes or workshops or like preaching, or like, you know, showing them how like you can really turn your life around, and it doesn't matter that you're in like prison now, like you can literally turn your whole life around.
Yeah, no, do you know what I asked? Because I was a YO myself when I was inside, and you know, people used to say the same thing to me, but like you're kind of in this little sticky like space in your life where you're like, you're like one of the youngest, but you're not like in what's it called before you go to
proper Haitian
in a YO prison.
Yeah.
So you're kind of just like, I don't know, it's a bit overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely.
But yeah, it sounds like you handled that really well, and you had like other ambitions to like.
Yeah, I used to be in there, and it's so funny because my one of my friends that I'd met in there, she come out recently, and she like when she see like my business how it is now, she was just like she just started like laughing. She was like, I'm actually seeing it in real life, because when I was like on the wing and stuff like that, all I used to talk about was my business, but it definitely wasn't at the level it's at now. But I just always knew that I'm just gonna keep going from height to height, so that's all I used to speak about all the time. Like I used to just be like, Alashan, like, all the time. Yeah.
Go on, Zach.
No, I was going to say, because you were both in the same jail, no?
Oh yeah, we actually were in Newhall.
Yeah, in Newhall, yeah.
I mean, you know my views about Newhall.
It's one of them ones.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
But do you know what? I used to literally ask so many people, have you ever seen Newhall, been to Newhall? Nobody knows, because it's in Yorkshire.
I feel like it's a different, like you can't really explain it.
So the fact that you've been, it's like really, I really like that, because you can understand what
I ain't even been there and I get it.
Yeah.
I ain't been there, I get it. Sometimes it's like one of them
people
ones.
say, you know, prison's another world. For me, that was another world in another world. Yeah,
it's crazy in there.
Shan, I just want to take you back, because I wanted to ask you, you know, you said you had these plans and these dreams before you went inside. Have you always had that?
Yeah.
Always had ambition, like dreams, and you know, what were those, and what was that like?
I feel like from young, like I'll always remember I had like this pink Dell laptop when I was younger, and I used to make a PowerPoint on there, and I used to take all the pictures from Argos of their furniture and put it onto the PowerPoint, being like, this is what my salon's gonna look like. So I've always known that I wanted to be like within the beauty industry and doing that. And I thought, like, where I was so naive, I thought you could only have a salon from being a hairdresser. Like, that's how naive I was growing up. But then obviously as I got older and stuff like that, I knew that, okay, I'm definitely not going to have my furniture like that. But obviously I'm definitely still going to have my salon. I'm going to achieve everything I want to do. And I just feel like I've just realised in life that, you know, you're always going to be going through something, and the quicker you can accept it and just fight through it, then like the more you're going to be able to like achieve. Because if it wasn't the case, it's going to be something else. And then when that's over, it's going to be something else. So I was quite glad that I accepted from very early on that this is going to be all over, whether it's going to be in 25 years or 25 days, one day it's going to end. And then when it does end, I'll be going through something else, and I'm not going to know what that is right now. But I just have to learn how to try and build and grow a business and fight through the hurdles and obstacles that come my way.
Sounds like you've been resilient from the get-go.
Yeah, it sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Because it shows other people that, you know, this, like you said before, this can be done.
Yeah.
With that mindset. You know, especially when you're right, this won't be the last thing that you face.
Yeah.
You will face other things, and it's about how you handle it and how you do it. And
yeah, definitely.
You literally just smashed that.
I think it's the mindset and the believing in yourself. I think a lot of people don't believe in their self. I think even with me, when I was going like through the case and stuff like that, everyone was just like, why don't you just go get a job? And I was just like, no, like, because my business wasn't like how it was now. I wasn't making money like that. And it, like, even years later, I even thought, oh, like, do I go like back the other way and do what I know best and know that that's going to make me money. But you just have to build resilience and determination and just know that you got to just be patient with things, like, and everything will align when it's meant to align.
Love that.
Did you always have this kind of confidence?
Yeah, I've always had confidence, But I feel like confidence is key. I think that when you're doing something, you've got to, like, if you're trying to get a client or a customer to book or buy from you, you've got to like believe in it yourself. And if you don't really believe in it or love it yourself, like, how do you expect a potential like consumer or customer to come and spend their money, like their hard-earned money to you? Because sometimes, a lot of the time, people spend their last bit of money with companies. So like, why is that? Like, but I feel like that's because the confidence that the brand has and that it projects onto like potential customers.
So when you went inside, and being a YO, and because of why you went in, did any of that confidence get knocked, or did that just empower the confidence even more?
I feel like my confidence does get knocked, and I do feel like, especially with like a conviction, especially like with the whole stigma of the case that I was on, I feel like it is hard, like, to, you know, think, oh, am I really going to be able to do all of this stuff? Like, because I've got big dreams. So it's just like, am I really going to be able to do it? But at the same time, I just feel like when there's a will, there's a way. And if you really want to do something, I just generally believe like anything's like possible. But no, I do feel like I do get knocked down and it is hard, but I don't know, I just keep going. I just find this strength. And that's why I think I'm very lucky, because not a lot of people have that strength or that belief in their self. Like, they would let them things get to them.
Talking of confidence, we do have another, we did a special episode of confidence on our other series, Getting Out. So for everyone listening and watching, check that out.
Make sure you check that out.
Tell them again, innit?
Yes, love that. Thank you. Check that out.
Yeah.
So Shan, what was the moment you had to switch up and make changes in your life? When did that happen?
I feel like when I was in custody, because I was in there for 5 days and I was thinking, right, like, I'm on a murder case and like, I can't even tell them about my business. That, like, I can't tell them that, oh, I've just started a business. Like, I'm actually a good person. Like, I might be a bit of a troubled child. They don't care. They've got procedures that they have to follow. So for me, when I was in custody, it was just like, there's nothing I can do. I can't just walk out of here. Like, they literally have control over my whole life.
This is in the police station, yeah?
Yeah. And I was just like, they've got control over my whole life. Like, so for me, I just felt like everyone normally like reads books. So I just asked them for a book and I was just reading. And then I was just like, oh, I can't read this book. Like, and then they gave me the Bible. But because I always had like my birth mum's Bible and I thought like she must have been Christian. So I just thought, let me not disrespect her, because I weren't religious to know that I was going to disrespect God. So I was just like, let me just read the Bible. And I was reading the commandments. And I didn't realize I was praying because I just thought it was my mental health. I was like, listen, God, like, I remember exactly what I said. I said, listen, I know I'm not a serious candidate, but I promise you, if you let me out, I will give my life to you. And I was like, I'll put my heart and soul into this business. And no matter what I go for, I'll never give up. Half an hour later, like 2:00 in the morning, after like 5 days, we all got let out. I said, no, I done that. I was like, no, I mean, God done that. I was like, I wanted them to be with that CCTV in the cell. I wanted them to have like the recording, like, so you can hear that was a prayer, like, God's real, like, God's real. And I went crazy, with like the God thing. And I was just like living for God. I was just praying all the time, like, and yeah, it was, I feel like that really did help me. Like, and I feel like I built a lot of faith up from that. And then obviously I was going through it. I was on bail. Yeah. I was on tag. I had to go and have meetings in Holborn with my barrister. Like, I had to sign on the police station every day. They took my car away from me. So as much as I was like a mobile lash tech, I wasn't really taking it seriously. So when I come out, I was thinking, I just made a promise to God and he really did let me out. So like, I'm going to have to go and do this lash thing somehow. Yeah. So I think my ex's mum, we went and got like a sunbed, or we went into the sunbed shop or whatever. And I must have looked at the woman and I was thinking, oh, she's going to judge me. Maybe she can see that, like, I don't know. Because obviously I struggle with mental health. So I was thinking she's probably going to see inside, like, maybe like I've done some bad things or been around some bad things or whatever. But then I thought, no, like, Shan, remember who you are. Like, just ask the woman, like, who does the lashes in here? So I was like, oh, who does the lashes in here? And she was like, me, why? And I was just thinking, because it was in Brentwood. So I feel like everyone's a bit different around there. And then she was just like, she gave me a job. Like the next day she told me to come back, and then I come back and I come there in a suit as if I was going to an interview, and she said I can rent out the bed. I started doing lashes because they took my kit. I had like a tiny little box. It was so tiny, and like they took the kit, they took the car, but I said that I'd made a promise and this is what I got to do, and I just built my business like that.
So from there you followed through with it.
Yeah.
Did you have to change any of the relationships that you had, or like at the time, like your friendship circle or the people that you were around?
I feel like it didn't happen straight away. And I feel like for me, I think it was more like my growth and that I was going in other directions, like to a point where I might turn right and someone else is continuing to go straight, or they might go left or something like that. So I feel like naturally, like I was just separated from certain people. And I generally believe that people just come in and out your life like as a chapter. And I think with me, it's always been a bit hard because I feel like where like my mum passed away and my dad got deported, I feel like even though it wasn't their fault, I feel like they're sort of people that some people can't live without. So because they've left my life, and then my adopted parents like let me go like from 15, I just feel like anyone else I haven't really expected to stay in my life. And it used to bother me. So I'd push people away before they've even done anything wrong. But I feel like now I've sort of understood that some people are just there for chapters, and you just got to like take what you can from it, and whether it be bad or good, you just got to take your lessons from it.
I heard that.
Yeah, me too. You're right with the people coming for chapters. Sometimes people stay, sometimes they don't. So
yeah.
And what about the turning point with you saying it's your ex, your boyfriend? Was that something that just, I don't know, instantly happened, or was that hard, or did that take time?
I feel like it was hard because like he was like my first boyfriend, and like we went through like a lot together, and he was like my first love and all of that stuff. And I feel like it was like a little fairy tale, like, but I feel like I don't know, we've never not got along. I just feel like, I don't know, sometimes you just have to like leave each other to grow like separately. So I feel like there was no hard feelings there. I just feel like we've just separated, and he grew like on his own and I grew on my own, and like that was it really.
Just part of life. Isn't
Yeah.
it? What was life like for you when you got released then?
Well, when I come out, obviously it was the normal like procedures with
Like
probation, things like that. But even when I went to my probation, like she's like, oh, how did you get here today? And I was like, oh, I drove. She's like, you drove? When did you get a car? And I was like, oh, I had it before I went to prison. And then she was like, oh, okay, like, so what are you going to do for work? I was like, oh, I'm not working, like, I've got my own business. She was like, what? Like, she was so confused. And then when I started talking to her, she's like, she must have like felt the passion, and like she obviously can tell that I generally believe in what I'm doing, and I'm showing her that I'm going to go on this course and I'm doing this, and I've started working with Prince's Trust, and I'm just telling her all this stuff, and she's just started crying. She was like, I've been doing this job for decades. Like, she's like, I've never met anyone like you.
Wow.
Like, but my barrister said the same thing. I was thinking, do you not know each other? It was so weird. But I don't know, I just feel like I do connect well, like, with people, and I don't ever feel like people are out to get me. It's a personal thing. Sometimes I just feel like certain things are people's jobs, and like I just don't take anything to my heart.
Did you have anything that you struggled with when you got out though?
I feel like mental health has always been something that I've struggled on. Because it's just hard, like it's a battle in your head. And I think because I struggle with like, I've got learning difficulties and I've got like ADHD and all the rest of it. So I feel like for me, it's trying to understand like how my head's working, and is this the ADHD? Is this the learning difficulties? Is this like my trauma? Is this PTSD. Like trying to work it all out whilst having them issues is hard. Like, so obviously, of course, like I seek help and stuff because I understand about healing and I just want to become like the best woman that I possibly can. So like for me, I think that's the hard part, trying to work it out and get it right. Because I just want to, I know that I'm not perfect and I'll never be perfect, but I strive that way. So I just want to be. So I feel like that's hard because you're battling yourself sometimes. Like,
I feel like you're on, you know, a very, very, very good and the path that you should be on. Like it sounds like you're on your way. So well
and
done.
Talking of mental health, we've got another episode on Getting Out about mental health, right?
We do.
Yeah, where we speak to Wendy from Calm. Is it Wendy? It is Wendy.
Well done.
Yeah.
You could literally just sit on your channel like all day and just have a field day.
Listen. Definitely could, and you heard it here not from us.
Shan. Love that.
Love that.
But no, definitely. If you want to know a little bit more about mental health and hear some advice, definitely check it out.
Yes.
Okay, Shan. So you are an award-winning entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please tell us about what you've achieved?
Yeah, so I feel like when I won the award, I feel like before I was nominated for an award and I come like 13th and everyone was just like, that's so good, that's out of like thousands of people, but I just felt like, no, I wanted to win. Like I feel like I wanted to win. So, and luckily it was like you couldn't go to like the event because obviously it was lockdown. So it was like a live streaming. So I just felt like I'm so glad it was live streaming because if I went there and I took like my friends, I'd be so embarrassed. But then when I won the award and I read it through an email and I think I was about to walk into my bathroom, go to the toilet, and I was thinking, no, I should not be here. Like I've just won an award. I should be getting up, going onto the stage, everyone recording me, taking the trophy. So I just felt like I was so angry I didn't go to that event. Like, and I just realized it's not all about winning sometimes. And I feel like, I just feel like now it's such a surreal feeling because even with that particular award, it was an achievement over adversity. And I just felt like even when I had to answer the questions and stuff, I just felt like this is my award. Like this is written for me. I don't care if 1 million people was up against that. Like I'm going to win this award. Like, because I just felt like it just said my name all over it. But yeah, I just think that comes again with the confidence, the belief in yourself and like really knowing like your stuff as well. But yeah, even like next week, like I've got like a red carpet event that I'm up for like two awards. And I'm like in top 10 in both of them.
Love
so
this.
hopefully I'll win.
You're definitely going.
Yeah, I'm definitely going. Yeah, I'm going for like 2 days. I'm staying up there. Yeah.
There we go. Love that. Next time we see you.
So it's going to be multiple award winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard that, man. I like it.
Good. Love that.
Because I remember we spoke about, off camera, mentoring. You've been getting some mentoring or you've got a mentor.
Yeah.
Can you talk us about that and what it's done for you?
Yeah, so I feel like mentoring is like really, really important as well. And for me, it was like, I didn't really seek mentoring. It was actually winning the award.
Okay.
She said that she was like, with her feedback, it said like she was so impressed with like my journey and my story and stuff that she just wanted to offer me like free mentorship. Like, and honestly, like, Debbie's been amazing. That's her name.
Big up Debbie. Big up
Debbie.
yourself.
Yeah, no. And do you know what? Like, even though for me, I'm very much like, I'm in my own lane. So I like to just do things myself and like I'll make a lot of mistakes. And she's made me realize that when I don't achieve things, it's because that I put other people first. And I do really have a passion for like helping others. But I also have to realize that I'm not exactly where I want to be yet. So she's obviously been helping me trying to align and say, look, like every month we come back and do these sessions, you haven't achieved certain things because you've helped other people achieve certain things. So like obviously now going forward, like obviously our next like session, obviously I'll be able to come to her and be like, yeah, I've done this, done that, and she'll say the reason why you've done that is because you put yourself first. So having mentorship, like, well, it might take a while and stuff, like for certain things to sink in and for you to sort of break certain habits, but I definitely think it pays off 100%.
But you do train other people as well.
Yeah.
How does that feel then, going, from where you were and now you're actually training other people?
Yeah, like, I feel like it's such a surreal feeling, like especially when like girls will message me and say like, Shan, like you've changed my whole life.
Wow.
Like, and you know, like they'll say you don't understand like what you've done for me, or like just little things like that. I think that's what helps me keep going, because I tell them all the time, like I needed that because I was just about to have a breakdown. Like, because I'm so transparent. And I think with me, I think that's how I built my business, because like everyone used to know that I was on tag and like I was on this case, and I've always been transparent because I wanted to show people that it's not just you going through these things, like, but some people just don't really like to speak about them. So I sort of tried to bring everyone on my journey, and it isn't over yet. Like, I'm still on my way. So I like to tell them that it's a hard, long journey. Like, you have to really build resilience, and like, and I'll try and show them as well that, you know, you're not the only person going through it. Like, it's taken me all this time to get here, but I've gone through X, Y, and Z. Like, so it makes them feel better in their self that, you know what, like, Shan's done it. Like, the proof is there. Like, I can see all of it, and she's honest. Like, because I tell them as well, I could probably tell you exactly how you're feeling. They're like, oh my God, yeah, that's exactly how I'm feeling. I'm like, because I've been there not long ago either. Like, and then it just makes like me like more relatable to them. And I think like that's like, as much as I can teach you this skill, I can teach that in 5 minutes. Like, you're only going to get better the more you do it.
Yeah.
I think it's me trying to install the mindset and, you know, the resilience and the determination, all of them sort of stuff they don't really get taught in like just a normal day-to-day beauty course or whatever. And I think because I wish I kind of had that guidance, because I didn't, I feel like I'm just lucky that I've got it naturally, whereas not everyone has it naturally. So I don't mind installing it.
Is that what separates you then from like other like lash technicians that educate others?
Yeah,
is that what
100%.
separates you, makes you a bit more unique?
Yeah, 100%. I definitely feel like that is like my USP.
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because I feel like with a lot of courses, like you go there, like there's a lot of stigma, like with you go, you book this course, you get the qualification, then they don't really do anything with it. Whereas obviously it can come down to like you just generally might not have a passion. Like me with hairdressing, I definitely do not feel like it was because of like the salon owners like skill, because they'd built 2 salons in that and had amazing life from that, but I didn't have a passion for it. So it definitely can happen, but obviously for me, I understand that you're not going to be like the best of the best at the beginning. I always give the metaphor to my students, it's like driving. Like, when you turn 17, you can go and drive, and the driver instructor will probably let you drive down the road and the same day. Like, but it doesn't mean you can drive. You have to keep having lessons. Yeah. And then you get to the point where you have the test, and then like you've got the examiner with you, you pass, and then it's like, okay, once you pass, like that's it, you can drive. But it's when you go out there on your own and you're on the roundabout stalling, like that's when you really start to learn and grow, because like I feel like it's a process. So I try and show them that it takes time. Like, and when you've got that right guidance with you, which a lot of the time when you get the ongoing support with beauty courses and things like that, like you can't really contact them. Like, that's it, they've got their money and they don't really care.
But they can contact you.
Yeah. They ring my phone. I tell them anytime, 1 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, but I just feel like I want them to feel comfortable, like to be able to reach out to me. I know a lot of them feel hesitant, like because they know that I'm so busy. But at the same time, I say to them, like you might not have someone there like I didn't, and you might be having a breakdown, and what you might think is the end of the world, I might tell you might be able to utilize that and capitalize off of it.
Yeah.
It's actually like amazing. Like, do you get what I mean? So I think I always tell them, regardless whether it's anything to do with lashes or personal, like don't feel like you're on your own in this, like growing a business. Like, I'm always there.
So these people that you help and mentor, are they're wanting their own business?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
so you literally have been there.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's so nice as well. Like, even one of my students, I took her to this lash conference like a few weeks ago, and it's like, you know, like now, like there's certain things I'll go to say, but she'll just say it to me. But I always said to her at the beginning, like, don't like not message me every day. And she really utilized the support, and she'll message me every day, voice note me, send me pictures of her work. Like, I'll send her videos, we'll have Zoom meetings and things like that. And she really utilized it. Now I'll have to message her like, how's things going? She'll be like, Shan, do you know what? I've been so busy. Like, she's just built her own like cabin in the bottom of her garden. Like, she's doing it full time. But she had 3 jobs when I met her. Like, and that's like a lot of my students. Like one of them messaged me that just before like I come here, and she was just like, she's doing like 5 5 clients a week. And I was just like, 5 clients a week. I was trying to find 5 like every 2 months, like when I first started. So it's so nice because it's just like they don't understand like how amazing they're actually doing. And that's why I'm always wanting to be there to just constantly like give them that little like kick and reminder.
No, that's nice, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's something that sets you apart, definitely.
Yeah.
In regards to like business life, did having that conviction that you have, did it affect you, like your confidence going into business spaces or opportunities?
Yeah, I feel like, do you know what? It's hard because even with like these events and stuff like that, I feel like it's quite cliquey, and I feel like I am very different to like a lot of people in the industry because obviously I know that everyone goes through their own stuff, but with me, it's just like a lot of people always think like, oh my God, like you went to prison and oh my God, like that's crazy. Like they think it's like the end of the world. So I think like it is hard because I think when I go there, I think a lot of people look and think, oh my God, that's Eyelash Shan, like she was the one that went to prison. And sometimes, but maybe again, it could be like me overthinking. And so I try not to.
Does everybody know? Like how do people...
Yeah, I feel like everyone does know because...
Do you still feel like you have that kind of... I don't know, like when I first got out of prison, we've said this before, like I just felt like I had prisoner on my head.
Yeah.
Do you still feel like you have that?
No, I don't feel like... I feel like I've come away from it a bit. And obviously I stopped speaking on it for like a while and stuff. But I feel like I'm always open, like, and I feel like because I'm always going to go and try and help other people and like, you know, work with young people and stuff like that, I feel like it's important that I still use my voice.
And people can always still judge. And
yeah, no, 100%.
I completely get that.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, but you're in your own lane. You're smashing it.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to turn down any work because of your conviction or being on tag or anything like that? Did you ever have to say like, oh, I can't do it? Or
yeah, I feel like when I used to go to like clients' houses and stuff, like I used to like I think I was saying like, you know, I would go to this one woman I had like in Surrey, and I'll go to her house and she had gates. I was thinking, oh my God, like I was thinking she probably has gates like because she probably thinks that people like me are gonna come in there or something. Like so I was just thinking like, but obviously I had to like, I felt like I owed them to explain like I'm not a bad person. Like I would tell them exactly like what I'm like on the case for and things like that, but like no one ever really judged me. I think everyone sort of accepted me and knew that. I feel like they all believed in me and they didn't stop coming to me and things like that. Yeah, and I did build a big clientele, like, and I've always had like a good reputation from the beginning, even like before my followers and stuff like that. Like a lot of people did know about me and a lot of people will come to me like, yeah, I've heard all about you. And I remember I was on tag one time and I was bulimic, so I because I had to be in at 7 o'clock, I thought, let me just go downstairs, get all like my sweets and snack things, like, and then go back upstairs. And I remember like this girl, she still follows me to this day, and she was in this like private club that was opposite my hostel. And she was going, oh my God, Shan. She's calling me. I was just like, oh, you're right. And then she was like, oh my God, she was calling her friend. She's like, look who it is. And I was just thinking, that was the first time anyone's ever like recognized me out. And this was, I must have had like 1,200 followers at the time. Like, but I feel like I've just always had like a good name to like my business and stuff like that. So I feel like people have always just accepted me for how I am. Like what you see is what you get. Like,
so for you, the openness worked, being open and like straight up with your clients wasn't a problem. It made it easier.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I rate that. I respect it. Some people might have chose not to speak about it.
No, 100%, yeah.
And we've spoken about this a few times.
Yeah.
You know, whether to tell people be open and honest, or you know, whether to just not say anything until really necessary or needed.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to hear.
Another perspective.
How people feel in those situations.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I feel like you just gotta own it because, like, to an extent, like, especially like in my where I was going, it was just like it would have always come out anyway. Because I tell people all the time, like, I want to be on billboards. I'm going to be like the biggest like lash brand there is. So it's just like it's always gonna
eventually,
So I just felt like from the beginning, and there was one friend that I had, and she went she went on holiday and she come back and her mum just done up the spare room, but like for her beauty business, but she didn't really want to do the beauty business like that. So for me, I sort of just realized from then, like as amazing as that is, I don't have that. Like my whole house is like my room, like everything's in there. I don't have no spare room. I live in the spare room basically in the hostel. So I just feel like for me, I just knew that my journey isn't the same as a lot of people's journeys. So I just felt like, let me be that person that can, you know, go through all these hardships and like these things that hold a lot of stigmas and show people that you can actually achieve, like despite all of that.
Yes, you can.
Definitely.
We are big believers.
Yes.
Believers
I'm a
of
believer.
that. Believers of that too.
Yeah. And living proof. We're all living proof
There you
that, you know, we can
100%.
go through those things and still turn it around. So big up yourselves, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Go
big
on.
us up. Shan, what are your priorities like now compared to what they used to be like?
Good question.
Yeah, I feel like they're so different now. I feel like now, obviously, I'll have like things like it's like, oh, like I've got like students like that sort of like not hold me accountable, but I just feel like they sort of need me to like when I tell them that they can come to me all the time. Say like I was just having a down day and it's just like, you know, which obviously everyone gets down days, but I just feel like I can't, you know, spiral out of control and just go AWOL and missing for like weeks on end and just come back up. Like, so I have to like keep on top of my stuff. So if that be that, you know, like depression and things like that and mental health, like I have to continuously heal myself and I have to continuously work on myself and, you know, make sure I don't get myself into like a bad state or whatever for me to then go back down to, you know, the wrong path or like into a dark hole, like in depression or things like that, because, you know, I've got a whole business with like a reputation. I feel like even when I don't post on my Instagram for like a day, people message me like, is everything all right? Okay. I'm like, yeah, I've just been so busy. I haven't posted today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I've got a lot more like responsibilities now with regards to like my business being like, I'm not just like trying to make money. Like I've got a brand, like, so yeah, it's a lot more like to sort of hold accountable, like if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're in a position where you have to make sure that you're on point in it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, you've got people that rely on you now.
No,
And, you know,
definitely,
that must be a good feeling, you know, that people well, you know, they think so highly of you. So
yeah, definitely.
You wanna keep that for yourself, but also, you know, you got them now. So
yeah, definitely.
even more reason. And how is everything with you? Like, are you touched on mental health? Like, is that something that, you know, you can see getting, you know, that gets good and getting better and that you...
Yeah, I feel like with the mental health, I've never really got like to full understanding of like the mental health side. Like with me, I think like, I don't know, sometimes I think one person said to me once, like, I think like maybe you should be like a psychiatrist or something, like, because the way that I'll speak to them and make them think differently, like I will sort of like add things up and think, okay, like if someone was, I don't know, for example, like they didn't really speak about their dad or whatever, or they would get angry if it was mentioned or things like that, I'll think, okay, like maybe you act like this because of this or things like that. So I will try and like, from my experiences, I try and understand like why I think the way that I do, why like maybe things don't make sense in my head. So I try and like sort of diagnose myself and like work on myself and heal myself and, you know, like accept things and think it's not the end of the world. Like, but also at the same time, like I pray a lot. So I feel like that helps me a lot. And I just continuously like try and achieve things, like, so then I can like feel better about myself. But at the same time, I try not to put too much pressure on myself because like it's hard. Like it's like a sort of, I don't know, it's like a cycle. Like you have to have a balance.
Yeah, no one needs too much pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are your future plans? What's ahead?
I feel like I want to just like continue like growing my business, growing my brand, focusing on like the training academy and like the being like the lash supplier and, you know, providing products for lash technicians. And yeah, I feel like I want to sort of try and, you know, go down like other avenues, like, you know, motivational speaking and working with young people and, you know, just showing others like, you know, you can achieve and like just continue to just go from height to height to height.
Love that.
Innit?
Yeah.
Don't come back when you're on billboards and that.
No,
Don't forget us and that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She was here. We saw her here, yeah?
Oh.
I think you've said it already, but I want to ask you, because maybe you say it differently. Why is it important to you to share your story?
I feel like it's important for me to share my story because I feel like there's so many people out there that I feel like are like that just sort of lack that belief in their self or lack that bit of confidence to the point where they feel like, oh, because I struggle mentally or because like I've got like lack of support from family or like I've lost my parents or, you know, I've been to prison. I feel like a lot of people use that as a reason why they can't achieve. And I just feel like if you could use me as an example, as much as I'm nowhere near where I want to be, I've definitely come a long way. So it's like, if I could like, you know, be like a voice like in your head to be like, yeah, like, you know, you can do this and you can achieve, like, you just got to keep fighting. Like, and I feel like that's what it is. Like, I always tell people, like, I've literally fought my way to get here, like, because it's not easy. And I feel like that's why I want to use my voice to be able to show others that, like, you've actually just got to fight. It's not easy, because if you go to my Instagram, you'll just think like I've got it like that. Because even one girl said to me before, like on Snapchat, I think it was, she was like, when she see my tag, she was like, oh my God, that's so amazing. And my friend said to me, what do you mean that's amazing? Like, why would she say that? Like, but I said, do you know what it is? It's because she's probably been following me like now, like in the recent years where I'm doing post office runs and training students and people messaging me this feedback, and she's seeing all this amazing stuff. So when she sees me on tag, she's thinking, oh, like it's not always been like this.
It's not all
so
roses.
when I started speaking to her, she was going through things. And when I've started vocalizing to her, like certain of my circumstances, not even a quarter, she was just like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm like, she was like, message me in 9, like she was like, I'm gonna message you in I think it was like 7 or 9 days or something, she said. And she was like, I'm gonna do what I've been wanting to do for so long, because you've just made me realize that like I can 100% do it. And I think that that's just the reason why I do it, because I know that I've done it already. And like, if that's just the people that have seen me on like my small like social media platform, like how many other people can I reach to and like help out as well?
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Power.
That was a really lovely thing to share. So thank you for letting us listen, and for everybody listening.
Yeah.
What we always like to do on Life After Prison is to ask yourself, whoever our guest is, if there is any organisations that helped them when they were released from prison.
I feel like I worked with Prince's Trust, and I feel like I think that was it. I think that was all I've worked with when I come out. Yeah.
Perfect. So we're shouting out Prince's Trust.
Prince's Trust.
What was that with? What did they do with you?
So I went on a business course with them. I think it was it was before lockdown, so I actually went there. And then they assign you like a mentor as well. I think it was just a bit harder for me because where I kept moving, like from hostel to hostel to hostel, it was literally from borough to borough, and each borough you've got different mentors. So I kept moving. But yeah, they're so amazing. Like they're even like giving me the opportunity again now to continuously like work with them now. So yeah, they're amazing as well.
Yeah, Prince's Trust also helped me as well. So
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Great organisation. We have a few more organisations that can help. So Women's Work, they're in Derbyshire. They support women with complex needs of all ages, and also Housing for Women. They provide housing and support services for women and their families. So these organisations will be in the show notes, so definitely check them out.
Yeah, check them out. We also like to share some of your messages when you get in touch with us. And I've got this email here from Jackie, and she says, hi, I'm a new listener. I think your podcast is really insightful and I'm hooked on listening. Keep them coming. Please keep making more.
Thank you very much.
That was nice, isn't it, Jackie?
Yeah, very, very nice. Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah,
and
tell all your people about it as well.
Yes.
Your aunties, your cousins, your sisters, your brothers, the daughters.
Shan, the support through this podcast has been absolutely incredible.
No, but you guys are incredible. It's like, how can you not listen to this?
See, that's nice. Trying to
Shan,
make a black man
thank
blush.
you. Yeah, wow. You're getting the colour of the pillows, Zach. We've got pink pillows, by the way, if anyone can't see.
Yeah.
So
Zach's
please,
choice.
they actually are.
It's on brand, didn't it? It makes sense.
Yeah, so please do keep getting in touch. We're absolutely loving everybody that's reaching out. So you can reach us on our socials at After Prison Pod. That's Instagram and Twitter. Or email us at podcasts@prison.radio. If you prefer to write, then it's Life After Prison, National Prison Radio, HMP Brixton, London, SW2 5XF. And also we do have a website. It's lifeafterprisonpod.com, and you can leave a voice note or just reach us on there.
Yeah. So, thank you, Shan, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on the best podcast there is.
You heard it here, yeah?
Love that.
Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time. Wait. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, actually.
Like, share, and subscribe.
All of that good stuff. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Now you can turn it off.